Now that the Trump administration is finally over, there's been a lot of reflection on what exactly constituted his legacy. A surprising number of apathetic leftists on the internet have interjected with their hot takes, that Trump was an overall ineffective president who really didn't do that much to impair normal American life.
For the most part, Trump didn't change a lot of my daily life. And a lot of your daily, if you're American, Trump didn't change a lot of your day-to-day life. He was a social media president. He was divisive. He made look and seem crazy online. Outside of that, look around. Daily life never changes based on the president.
This is an understandable sentiment to have. Day-to-day life for the average middle-class American didn't change all that much over the course of the Trump presidency. But this is far too narrow a lens to view Trump's entire term through. For millions of Americans, Trump's presidency was far more consequential than anything we could have imagined. In 2017, the Republicans were able to gain a Republican trifecta, meaning they were able to win the presidency alongside both the Senate and the House. So right off the bat, many of those in 2015 and 2016 who mused that Trump would be far too politically incompetent to enact any real change were met with a rude awakening. In the first few days of Trump's presidency, he enacted a flurry of deeply troubling executive orders that shattered the liberal incrementalism of the Obama administration. Some of these included a travel ban prohibiting people from various Muslim-majority countries across the Middle East from entering the U.S., an executive order effectively mitigating the effects of the Affordable Care Act, a rollback of Obama-era environmental regulations, and a series of executive orders that strengthened the Department of Homeland Security's grip on immigration into the United States. Like it or not, each of these executive orders, which didn't even have a chance of being passed through a Republican-controlled Congress, had tangible impacts on the people of the United States. We quite literally turned our back on thousands of Muslim refugees seeking safety and opportunity at our border in the name of protecting our domestic security. We prevented thousands of lower-class people from having access to basic health care in the name of making sure America doesn't turn into a welfare state. We continued to pollute our environment in the name of increasing economic productivity. We separated hundreds of children from their families in the name of strengthening our borders. However, the bulk of Trump's harm wasn't done in the first month of his presidency. Throughout those excruciating 4 years, thousands upon thousands of people were directly impacted in some way by the policies of the Trump administration. On average, according to the Cato Institute, roughly 500,000 people were held in immigration detention centers each year of the Trump administration prior to the onset of COVID-19. Many of these detention centers, 67% of which were managed by private companies, held thousands of people in dire living conditions for months on end. According to ProPublica, a large-scale detention center in El Paso that imprisoned 50,000 people per year employed ICE guards that would systematically sexually abuse detainees. Trump did absolutely nothing to mitigate these problems, and in fact, continually pumped more money into DHS and ICE throughout his presidency. Additionally, Trump did about as much as he could to hurt the LGBTQ+ community through his leadership. In April of 2019, Donald Trump's sweeping transgender military ban was put into effect, ensuring that any transgender person with military aspirations was denied their right to enlist in the service. Throughout nearly all of his administration, Donald Trump was hell-bent on rolling back as many Obama-era LGBTQ+ protections as he could. 2 days after his armed insurrection, Trump finalized a rule that allowed federally funded welfare programs to turn down LGBTQ people on the basis of their sexuality. Trump eroding away welfare protections at one of the lowest points of a year-long economic downturn. But the most lasting impact of his presidency will undoubtedly be left in the courts. Beyond installing 3 Supreme Court judges creating a 6-3 conservative majority, infamous Supreme Court appointee Brett Kavanaugh, and openly defying the last wishes of the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg with more recent appointee Amy Coney Barrett, Trump has appointed over 230 judges with a strong conservative and textualist leanings to the federal bench. The last person to have that big an impact was Jimmy Carter with 150. 30% of all appeal judges are Trump appointees, and cases dealing with abortion, gun control, religious rights, and other hot-button issues will be in their jurisdiction. But let's just talk about the stuff that's already happened. Barrett, was the fifth vote blocking New York from enforcing COVID-conscious church attendance limits. 5 of Trump's court appeals judges made up the 6-4 decision in the full 11th U.S. Court of Appeals, making it harder for felons to regain their right to vote in Florida. 2 judges formed the majority on a 3-judge circuit panel on a discussion that rejected the opportunity to illegalize conversion camps for LGBTQ+ teens. And that's just the beginning. Some of Trump's appointees are in their 30s with the opportunity to serve for life, promising decades of decisions like these to come. Just ask Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. Quote, "I think it's far and away the most consequential thing I've ever been involved in," he said in an interview, "and it's the most long-lasting accomplishment of the current administration by far." Trump's presidency has eroded some of the very fabric of this country. That's not even to mention the Chinese tariffs, his corporate-friendly environmental policy, alignment with right-wing extremists, attempts to abolish Obamacare and resurrect the war on drugs, or any of his many proposed and enacted budget cuts that negatively affected the same base he claimed to champion. For better or worse, history will judge the efficacy of the incoming administration on how well they are able to mitigate the effects of said policies. Biden is tasked with unifying a nation on the brink of a social civil war while managing a rapidly changing pandemic, plunging unemployment rates, and diplomacy challenges to restore the image of our country on the world stage. But one thing remains clear. Whether the second impeachment is successful, or we see Trump again in 2024, the impact of his presidency will be felt for generations to come.